So far we have a home page, an about page, and we have a basic look and feel for this site. We've uploaded a logo and we've changed the home page to use a default piece of content. As a next step, it would make sense to go ahead and add a contact form so that there can be feedback through the site. And as we can see from the mockup, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the mockup. We have a contact link here, and we also have a mockup for the contact form. Let's go ahead and take a look at the mockup. I'm going to jump to the resource pack, and I'm going to open up Contact Us with Notes. Okay, so we see here we have a name input, an email input, an experience level input here, comments, and a sign up for this newsletter checkbox. All right, so this is our first form that we've created in Drupal. And as you'll learn as you begin to work with Drupal, there are a lot of ways to work with forms. There are modules that you can enable in order to add specific forms, and there's a module you can use to create your own sets of forms. You can even do some coding if you're enterprising enough and add forms through code as well. What we're going to do is start as simple as possible and see if we can get what we need out of the simplest option. We'll find out that that's not enough, and we'll move on to a more complex option. Okay, go ahead and jump back to your browser. And what we'll need to do here in order to create a contact form, a basic contact form, is to enable a module called Contact. So what I'm going to do is click on the modules link in the navigation. And this will give us a list of modules that are currently installed in our Drupal site, some of which are enabled, some of which are disabled. This modules page is pretty important. We're going to be coming back to it repeatedly throughout these videos. So let's take a moment to see how it's structured and what kind of information you can find on it. Let's start at the top. This first line here says you can download additional contributed modules to extend Drupal's functionality. And if you click on this link, it will take you to drupal.org, where you can see a list of modules available for installing and extending Drupal. This next line tells you that you should always keep your modules up to date. So the idea with modules is that they can be changed, upgraded, and that by installing the latest version, you ensure that your site is the most secure that it can be. It also gives you brief instructions on running the update script whenever you install a module. Now we're going to be coming back to this and going through those steps in detail later. At the very top of this box here, you see a bounding box around it, is something that says core, and there's a little arrow next to it, meaning that you can click it and collapse it. And if you do so, you'll see that this is the only box that's on this page. These boxes represent collections of modules that belong in a certain category. Everything that you see in the core box comes with Drupal by default. So these are things that weren't added to Drupal after the original installation. As we install more modules in future videos, you'll see the number of boxes here expand. I'm going to go ahead and expand it again. And let's look at the column names. The first one is enabled, and you see that some are not checked, some are checked and grayed out, and some are checked. The difference between these is that this one, for example, is not enabled, it's not checked. This one is enabled, and it's also required by another module, so you can't disable it without disabling the module that requires it. And then for checked modules, these are modules that are currently enabled. All of these modules are installed, which means that the code exists in the Drupal code base on your site. So you don't need to download anything in order to use these modules. You can simply enable them or disable them. The name column represents the name of the module. So you see we have a module called aggregator, a module called block, one called blog, and so on. The version is the version of the module that's currently being used. All of these are going to be 7.0 because this is Drupal 7.0 that we're working with, and these are core modules. The description is a brief description of the module and what it does. And the operations contain an optional list of special help links. So for example, if you look at block here and you move over, you'll see that there's a link for help to give you some help on this particular module. There's one for permissions, which if you click on it, it will take you to the specific set of permissions that belong to this module. and then configure will take you to the configuration page for this module.